Access Decatur, a City of Decatur information network.
Review the City Council agenda for the meeting on Monday, November 16th at 5:30 at the Civic Center. We'll begin with a presentation from Sue Neasley, who's the president of the Coalition of Neighborhood Organizations. We're talking about one of our neighborhood groups on Monday night. This is something that the City Council does the second meeting of each month. The next items number 3 through item 7. Items 3 through 7 all deal with the annexation of a piece of property that's on the border of the City of Decatur. The individuals, the petitioners, have property on the border of the City of Decatur. They have a residential house. They want to annex some property next to their house. So we have to do a couple things. One, we have to do an annexation agreement. And the next thing we have to do is we have to change the zoning. The zoning of their property right now that's in the city is R3. According to city ordinance and city code, anytime a property is annexed to the city, it goes to R1. So as soon as we annex the property, then we have to change the zoning to R3 so we have a consistent zoning on the entire parcel, because we'll be making this one parcel of land. So that's all that activity pertains to items 3 through 7. Item number 8, item number 9, and item number 10. So items 8, 9, and 10 all pertain to a redevelopment agreement and a TIF agreement for the property located at 2200 East Williams Street. This is also known as the Pine Shopping Center. There's a request to rezone that property to B3, a planned shopping center district, on the petition of Neiman Holdings LLC. There's a resolution to receive and refile a redevelopment agreement with Neiman Holdings for the Pine Shopping Center Tax Increment Finance District. And there's a resolution providing a feasibility study for the property located at East Williams Street, the Pine Shopping Center. What's going on is the current owner of the Pine Shopping Center is selling the shopping center to Neiman's Holdings, and we are setting up a TIF district there to help spur the redevelopment of that shopping center and construction of a new shopping center on that location. And so this is all these activities relate to that redevelopment of that piece of property. Best we know right now is there will be the Save-A-Lot grocery store will be rebuilt on that site. Outside of that, I'm not sure what else will be in the rest of the shopping center on that location. But a new Save-A-Lot grocery store will be built, and so the grocery store will still be there, which is very important because that grocery store really supports that neighborhood. And there's many people in that neighborhood that access that grocery store by walking and means of transportation that do not involve vehicles. It's important we have it there. And we're excited that Neiman's is stepping up and doing that and redeveloping that intersection for us. It's a major corridor in Decatur, and it just continues on our efforts to redevelop the inner city of Decatur and the major corridors that exist now. Item number 11 is to amend our zoning ordinance to allow wind energy systems in the city of Decatur. Now let's be clear, you will not see a wind tower go up at the corner of Main and Grand. It would not work there. But there are parcels in the city of Decatur, basically on the edge of the city, that are big enough to support a wind energy system, or a windmill, for lack of a better term. The zoning ordinance lays out specific things as far as having enough property to have one of those, have enough setbacks, so if for some reason the tower fell, it wouldn't be at the risk of falling on anybody's homes, and those types of things. Other cities are starting to adopt these. Traditionally, county governments have been doing the adoption of these types of ordinances because they have more parcels that have enough room to support those types of development. These would just be on private property. This would not be the development of a wind farm anywhere on the edge of the city. Resolutions 12, 13, and 14 all pertain to the replacement of the bridge over Stevens Creek on MacArthur, just north of Ash. The city has been studying this for several years. The bridge over Stevens Creek on MacArthur Boulevard needs to be replaced. We have weight restrictions on there right now. We had originally had an estimate on what it might cost to do that bridge replacement. The actual estimate, or the new estimates, coming in slightly above that. We're using a mix of DUOTS funding, or federal funding, for this, and some local funding. The local funding is coming out of our motor fuel tax money, though. So there's no general funds of the city's being expended on this project. But we're getting ready to go out for bid on this project, so we need to authorize the city to expend the motor fuel tax dollars we need to do the project before we get it bid. and then also have an agreement with a local engineering firm, Homer Chastain Associates, to do the engineering and construction work on that project for us. This project will be under construction next summer, and we will make sure that we have at least one lane open for traffic over the creek at all times. So the bridge won't be shut down, but we will have one-way traffic through there. So the residents in that area need to be ready for that, and we'll make sure that they're well informed. On our consent calendar, we have some filing of boards and commission minutes. An ordinance just clarifying the places of amusement license that we have right now. An resolution authorizing designation of some unsafe structures in the city of Decatur. Eventually, if the circuit court agrees with us on these designations, this could lead to demolitions of these parcels. We're also making some reappointments to some city boards and commissions, and purchasing a new front cap for one of our public transit buses. We'll have appearance of citizens like we always do, and then we have 2 study sessions planned for Monday night. One will be a presentation from the Decatur Sister Cities Committee on the recent activity and a report on how they expend the funds they receive from the city, and then review the October 2009 financial report. The review of the financial report shows that the fiscal situation at the city isn't getting any worse, but it's not getting any better. With this extra month of data, we found that we haven't seen a worsening of the situation. We haven't seen the situation improving either. So our hopes is maybe we're at the bottom, but we don't know for sure. So this is just an update to the City Council on how that's going. Revenues, the major revenues in the general fund are still off anywhere from 10 to 12%. So we have not changed our end-of-year projections of revenues missing budget by about $3.6 million. But if that situation changes, we'll make sure that everybody knows. I would describe the city of Decatur's current financial situation as probably tenuous right now. We're only halfway through the fiscal year, so we don't have a lot of data to go on yet. It's kind of a good news. The good news and the bad news is the same story, that things haven't gotten any worse. On one side, you're happy to hear that. On this side, it's disappointing that we're not starting to see some recovery here. Not to mention the pressure that we're going to receive from our pension funds. Pension funding many times is based on the return of the investments in those pension portfolios, and it's no secret to anybody there's not any investments that performed very well last year. So that's also going to provide pressure on the city's budget situation. In a couple of weeks, we're going to start talking about the property tax levy. The property tax levy largely goes to fund pensions, and so the levy really is dependent on how the fluctuations in the return of those pension plans. And so we need to monitor that closely. When we look at the levy every year, we're only halfway through the fiscal year. So when we look at the levy, even though none of the levy goes to fund general operations, the City Council typically wants some kind of projection on what next year's budget's going to be. And we're going to have to make that projection based on 6 months of some really disappointing revenue numbers. So we don't know what the projection on next year's budget is yet, but I have to assume it's going to be much worse than what we dealt with this year. And that's why when we adopted the budget last year, I was very clear that this isn't over yet. This is just the beginning of our hard work that we have to put in on fixing the budget of the city. At the end of the meeting, we also have some closed executive sessions set up for a personnel evaluation on the city manager, and also talk about some potential pending litigation and those matters. And so if you want to attend the meeting, it's 5:30 Monday night at the Civic Center.